This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back. We're going to talk about something today that challenges many. And it's actually escalated ever since COVID. Why? I have no idea. I'm going to get with him. He'll probably provide, not probably, he will provide a lot more insight. And he works with people all the time as a licensed marriage and family therapist. He's a certified family mediator as well, and also a certified elder mediator. And all different areas, whether it's therapy, whether it's mediation, he's got it handled. And he's got definitely some insight on what we're going to talk about today. Gary Santucci, our professional of the year, joins us. Hey, Gary, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Steve. How about yourself?
Very well, very well.
Good to
What's
hear.
going on here with anxiety? Why has it escalated ever since COVID?
I think a lot of anxiety since COVID and actually even before has a lot to do with probably more social media. More people are obviously following social media. There's a lot of anxiety associated with social media. People put things on their platforms and that really kind of trigger other people regarding anxiety. I think also COVID changed how we live our lives in many ways. For example, telehealth. It's a perfect example of what COVID has done. So I think that changing our lives in many ways, I think it's put more pressure, more stress, more anxiety, more of a sense of. I'm not going to say that it's all doom and gloom, but it's a worry that I think has increased tremendously from COVID and other world events, things like that.
Mm. Is it also a product of control? Like during COVID, we didn't have control. It was basically taken away. We
Right.
had a lockdown and all of that. And is that one of the precursors to anxiety?
I think you're talking about change. Okay, that was a big change.
True.
We had to pivot, and nobody was ready for that. Nobody knew how to do that. So we were kind of like walking in the dark and feeling our way through it.
Yeah.
And, people had a difficult time with COVID, had a difficult time with the whole concept of being at home, kind of like you say,
Mm.
lockdown. Being around family members created a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension, a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. All those things added to the anxiety. I think that there were financial concerns, financial restraints, and that created a lot of stress. I think just not having your life, like you say, in control, not being able to go to restaurants, go to theaters, go to work at your office or wherever you were working before because of the lockdown. All of that was changed pretty much from 1 second to the next. I think that all created a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, those are
So,
great points. And a lot of them we kind of forget about, but they're
right.
all, and they're still lasting effects, even the financial side of it from COVID. Many people are still dealing with that. What is anxiety? Let's go basic here. The definition, how would you even know that you have anxiety?
I think with anxiety, I think there are probably more than one definition. I think the anxiety is just the discomfort of everyday life. It becomes such a pressure, such a tension, such an uncertainty. You're just not feeling that both feet are on the ground. And so there's that instability. It can also create insecurity. It can create that worry, like I said before. Um, all of these things contribute to the anxiety. And it also is triggered primarily by our thinking. The more we think anxious thoughts, the stronger the anxiety gets.
Hmm.
So most of us are pretty good at strengthening anxiety with our thoughts. We worry and we
Yeah.
think about the worry. And some of us worry incessantly, and we worry all day, every day, and worrying about things that you can control. Think about that. Why
Mm.
worry about things that you can control? And then worrying about things that you can't control. Well, why would you worry about things that you can't control? You'll never control them.
Yeah.
But we do that. We do that every day. There's a lot of anxiety associated with both of those things, worrying about things that you can and cannot control. Mhm.
And it's very reasonable to see that. And even the future, it's often been said that when you think about the past, it can lead to depression. You think about the future, it can lead to anxiety, anticipating what could be there. But, not minimizing anything, but
Right.
future's not here. I don't know about you. I don't know what's happening in the future. We have a
Right.
reasonable expectation based on some pieces and or previous facts, but 5 seconds from right now, I don't know what's going to happen. We don't
Absolutely.
know. Anything could happen.
Well, we worry, for example, we worry about the future. So
Hmm.
you're worrying about financial restraints, financial stress. You
Sure.
worry about your health.
Sure.
Okay. You worry about what you're doing, your job, for example. You worry about family matters. You worry about friendship matters. You can worry about anything. And we get anxious over a lot of different kinds of things. Get anxious about going out sometimes. Get anxious about driving a car. Get anxious about a test. Get anxious about meeting a new person. There's thousands and thousands of things that can trigger anxiety.
Mm.
And how we react to it is the thing that I think really determines what kind of impact it has on us. So if we allow the anxiety to manage us, it will.
Mm.
It will. And it's very strong. Let's not underestimate that. If we manage anxiety, because you're going to have anxiety every day, you're going to have stress every day, from very serious, important things to minor things. But if you can manage that anxiety, and that's a key, then you're going to be able to deal with whatever anxiety comes your way. But if you allow it to manage you, and we allow it, I think we allow it to manage us by our thoughts. Oh, this is going to be doom and gloom. The worst thing is going to happen. I'm never going to be able to do this, And when you get to the end, you find, oh, that wasn't that bad. How many times have we all said that? That
Hmm.
wasn't that bad. Mhm.
Is there a close relationship between anxiety and stress?
Absolutely. They're linked together, yes.
Mm.
Anxiety, stress, pressure, tension, worry, all of those things are part of it. And and any of those kinds of things, when those things are present, there's no relaxation that's taking place. There's no peace and calm. They
Mm.
can't exist together. So if you're calm and peaceful, you're not going to be anxious. You're not going to be stressed. Conversely, when those things are present, you're never going to be relaxed and calm and peaceful. It's the opposite.
Is it a mindset shift? How do you get out of that mode of anxiety?
Again, the thinking is really at the core of all this. You want to be able to control your anxious thoughts. I believe there's three kinds of thinking: angry thinking, anxious thinking, and clear thinking. Clear thinking is by far the best. Okay. We make our best decisions and our best choices with clear thinking. Anxious thinking just promotes all of the anxiety that we're worried about, all of our worries, all of our fears. Fear is another driver of anxiety. And when we get caught up in all that kind of stuff, as long as the fear and the worry is present, the anxiety is strengthened. So, how do you get away from that? You really have to really distract yourself from the anxiety. You have to focus on things that are going to help you relax. Breathing is important. Mindfulness is important. Meditation is important. Exercise is important. Um, when you're distracting yourself from those kinds of things, if you don't think about anxiety, you don't experience it.
Hmm.
So if we can distract ourselves to things away from the anxiety, we are managing that.
It's often been said, and I see this come up over and over again, year after year. And I don't know how they study this, research it, do polls, but something like 91% of the things that we worry about never transpire. You are literally wasting your time, your energy, everything into that fear and anxiety of things that never take place.
Absolutely. We worry about it, and that's right. 90%, we worry about things that are unimportant, insignificant, silly kinds of things, and we make them the most important things in our life based on our thinking.
Yeah.
And so the time and the energy that we use worrying is just an unbelievable amount of time. What would happen if we were using that time and energy in a better constructive way? Oh my goodness. I
Right.
think we would be so much further ahead in just about every aspect of our life, you know.
We'd be walking on a cloud every day. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, everything's wonderful.
yeah,
And again, we're not minimizing anybody's challenges with anxiety at all. But I
right.
can tell you, and this is why I asked about the mindset shift. I always had anxiety about taking a blood test.
Hmm.
Grown man would always worry about it. Why? I don't really know. It,
Uh-huh.
the date would come up, you make the appointment with the lab, and I'd be there the day before. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just make it for next week. And then that next week would come, and I would look at it, I'm like, yeah, but maybe tomorrow I'll change it up. It was just, routine tests. And that had gone on for years up until last year. Anxiety about having a blood test.
Sure.
I flipped my thinking, and it was, it took time to do, but I flipped it around to I'm going to get information that's going to benefit me. I'm doing something finally for myself. Maybe the
Yes.
information's good, maybe it's not. If it's not so good, you know what? I'll deal with that. At least I know what I'm dealing with. And interestingly, had some health stuff going on, perfectly fine now, but back in January, February, where I got stuck with like 12 different needles, biopsies, tests, blah, blah, blah. I would actually laugh. I flipped it around to the point was, because I got to numb you up. I'm like, well, I wonder how long that's going to hurt to the point where I don't feel it anymore. And even when, I got some stitches too, and they're pulling them out, it can, whoa, twang a little bit. And the nurse would say, why are you giggling? I'm like, because I think it's funny now. I used to worry about this. And even the doctor said, what's the difference? And I said, mindset. I just shifted my thinking. Not easy. I totally understand and get that, but I just wanted to share that it is possible to flip it around. Where now, if you walked in here, with a band and you're going to take blood, I'm like, yeah, right here you go, yeah, take it. I wouldn't even have an issue with it.
You've become an acupuncture candidate, right?
Yeah, yeah. I want to do it so bad. I'm not even kidding. I just did a podcast on acupuncture.
But look at what happened before, okay? All of your thoughts prevented you from wanting to have that blood test.
Yep.
You postponed it, you procrastinated about it for a very long time. And the more you thought about it, the more fearful you became.
Yeah.
Okay. When the mindset changed, okay, and it was a whole different way of thinking, all of a sudden, the fear went away, okay, the worry went away, and you put yourself in that situation where you just did it. And you found not a big deal,
Not a big deal.
okay, not a big deal. But for all that time, you worried about it and worried about it incessantly. It's the same kind of thing with all of these anxieties that we're talking about. When you change your thinking away from what's triggering your fear and what's triggering your worry, you're going to find that all those fears and worries are just unfounded. And you can go and proceed and overcome that anxiety and overcome that worry and fear.
Let's
Nine
look at
times, nine
wh-
times out of 10.
yeah, where does it come from? Because I trace back, I'm looking, at myself in that fear of blood tests, needles, if you will. Where does it
Mhm.
come from? And I try to trace back, and there was one time I was already fearful of them. Then there was one time where a phlebotomist left the band on, and she was talking to a coworker, and I'm sitting waiting there. And I was like, "Excuse me, I still have this on my arm." She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Let me take that off." She takes it off, and just the release of pressure. I thought I was going to pass out. I guess it was
Uh-huh.
normal. Or maybe I was jacked up from worrying about it in the first place. I didn't, but I think that fueled some of the anxiety. But I have to believe the fear goes way back, maybe childhood. And I bring that up. am I wondering, do you think a lot of the anxiety that we have, no matter what it is, what it's for, goes back to maybe your childhood?
I think a lot of it is environmental. How many times do you see a young child, going to the doctor for vaccines and injections? And what do they do mostly? They're yelling and screaming and crying. Okay. Very few children go through that without crying. So I think from that it becomes trauma and it carries over well into your adulthood.
Yep. So that
Your
being
adult.
said, what about somebody that has, I don't even know if we call it general anxiety or anxiety about something. How do we
Mhm.
trace that back?
Well, general anxiety, I think, is a repetitive kind of thing. There's certain things that trigger that, and some of those are environmental. And you flash back on those things that trigger all of that anxious thinking into the present. So when you have that going on, all those thoughts come rushing back and are just as strong as they were before. Every time that you go through that experience, those thoughts are just as strong as they were before. And again,
Hmm.
the mindfulness, switching the thinking, is going to help you overcome that. General anxiety is a very common anxiety. Everybody has that. Okay. And again, how you manage that determines what kind of impact it's going to have. Now, there are other anxieties that are certainly much stronger and much deeper. Okay. For example, panic attack
Hmm.
is a very strong, very, very strong anxiety. Okay. That's much greater than a general anxiety. And that can happen without warning. And that can happen over an event that happened in your life, something that you may have seen that caused you to react in a panic kind of way.
Hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily have to impact you in the sense you didn't experience it, but you saw somebody experience it. And then that creates that panic in you every time there's a similar type of situation. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, can create a tremendous amount of anxiety. Okay, those are very serious anxiety disorders, and those are dealt with differently than general anxiety.
Do we all have anxiety of some sort?
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. Mhm.
And I would imagine some of it is good. Like, let's say you are a star football player, it's Super Bowl, a lot on the
Mhm.
line here. You're jumping
Yep.
out to the field. I got to imagine there's a little bit of anxiety there, or even a performer, whatever it might be. And I've heard it also said that that anxiety is good. That's your adrenaline. That's your push. That gets you going.
Yes, for a lot of people, that's what they need to get going. Comedians talk about that all the time.
Hmm.
It's stage fright, which is certainly a form of anxiety. And a lot of times when you get out there and you start performing, it's like you never experienced the anxiety. Get into your routine and everything is fine. But prior to that, you can um, throw up, you can uh, get very nervous, start shaking. You can do a lot of different kinds of things because the anxiety is strengthened by the thinking. Oh my goodness, this isn't going to work. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do well today. What if they don't like me? That kind of thing. What if I fail to perform in the way that I'm supposed to? All of those thoughts, okay?
Sure.
When you put them here and you keep thinking about them over and over and over again, it just strengthens all of that.
How do you support
Dominant,
people that
dominant,
they come to you with
dominant.
anxiety? What do you do to work with them to mitigate it, to reduce it?
Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, works very well in dealing with um, most general anxiety. Okay, you're just reframing the thoughts, and you're really trying to unlearn a behavior and replacing that with a better behavior, more constructive, more positive behavior, giving you a better outcome. So that's a process, and it's really kind of climbing into what the therapy is offering. Okay, buying into that. And if you buy into that, then you find that you are using that in your daily life. And oh my goodness, it works. I have better manageability here. Okay, I'm managing my anxiety. Look at this.
Hmm.
I didn't know this could work this well. And all I had to do was change my thinking. It's not easy to change your thinking. I'm gonna say that. okay? Because we're creatures of habit, and the more you reinforce something negative, the stronger it gets. So what we're trying to do is undo that and reinforce it positively, strengthen that.
Is all of this part of us to protect us?
I think that in some ways, it is, okay, we're dominated a lot by fear. We have so many fears. I mean, you can have fear about anything, okay? And when we get caught up in that fear, it dominates our behavior, dominates our thinking, dominates our attitude, dominates our mood. All of those things are impacted by fear, and fear creates worry. Oh my goodness, is something bad going to happen? Am I going to be able to do this? That sort of thing. That kind of thinking just strengthens the fear, strengthens the worry. And when that happens, the anxiety is stronger and stronger and dominates your whole, everything about you. It dominates your day, dominates your life. And some people are anxious all the time, even with medication.
Is it hereditary? Is it genetic?
I think, yeah, I think in some cases it is. If you grew up in a household where, say, one or both parents were very anxious, you take on that behavior. You've seen it every day. That's environmental too. Okay, you saw it every single day, and you saw how they were reacting to it, and you take on those behaviors as you go through life, as you get older.
I
Yeah.
agree with you there because I know, well, my mom had anxiety, and years ago, I feel I had it not like a high level, but it would pop up every once in a while. Maybe that's why the blood thing that test is there.
Okay.
But I recognized it and did something about it with a mindset shift. But I do know families where at least one of the parents definitely has it, is on medication, and the children, now adults, and they could be in their 40s and 50s, they have
Yes.
it as well, and they all admit it. And they're on medication as well. Again, nothing wrong with medication, whatever works for you. But with CBT and other modalities, is there a chance that you don't need to take medication if you work on it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I believe that for me, medication would be a last resort. Okay. I would prefer to, use the CBT,
Yeah.
reality therapy. And the more of that, again, you are reinforcing those and they can experience life in a different way.
Yeah.
Because if it becomes a way of life, you get used to that. You get used to being anxious every day. You know the feeling. And so it's almost like when you don't have that feeling, what's going on here?
Great
How
point you
come?
bring up. I know somebody, we just have out of time, but this is amazing that you said that. I know someone who has anxiety and it's mostly under control, but when nothing is happening, everything is quiet, it escalates.
Hmm.
It has like she don't know how to deal with it because it's out of her it's out of her norm because her norm is always being a little bit anxious, during the day, and now it's peace and quiet. It elevates.
Good point. Yeah, you can't stand the peace and quiet. You're not used to it. It's not
No,
comfortable.
not
Comfort isn't always a good thing. You're comfortable being anxious, if there's
yeah,
such a thing. Okay.
yeah,
And, that's not necessarily a good thing for any individual.
right. Yeah, it's amazing how we are creatures of use a cliche habit, but we'll
Yes.
adapt to whatever we need to adapt to, and unfortunately, anxiety is one of them. Gary, how do we connect with you? I know that you can work with anybody anywhere virtually. What's the best way to start a conversation?
You can go on my website, GarySantucci.com. Okay. My email is GarySantucci74 @gmail.com. You can contact me there. My phone number is 954-474-1119 and 954-817-1401. You can text me on that number. And any of those, you can reach me.
Santucci, Santucci. Uh,
Correct.
Great having you here again. Really appreciate all your insight. So important. So many of us are being challenged by anxiety, but there is help.
There
Doesn't
is
have
help.
to necessarily be medication.
You don't have to
Uh,
live your life that way.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Gary. Thanks for being here today.
Okay, Steve. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. We'll be
Look
right
out.
back.
Okay.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect. This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.